Great. So, great discussion so far. We've got a number of questions from the audience right now. Why don't we start with Mike and John, if you guys wouldn't mind. One question we've got is, how do you integrate the non-technical employees of your office into the cybersecurity sphere at work? What are the
We got a good one, right? I mean, we don't want security to sit in a silo, I would say. So this is a really important one. There's two spheres here, I think. There's the sphere of like what do you need to do in order to keep formal training engaging and relevant so that they listen to that. And the other sphere is the actual integration of cybersecurity in the organization. I love security championship programs. And sometimes it's difficult to get buy-in from the top for that. But you won't believe how many times I get pinged throughout the day by someone that is in the end semester of their cybersecurity studies and that is working an unrelated job. Whenever you get a ping like that, that's an opportunity to go in and say, interesting. Maybe I can talk to your manager and figure out a system where you can spend a few hours, a month, a week, whatever the arrangement is with my team, and you can see what we're doing. And you can bring those learnings back. And when we are interacting with whatever business unit, business team it is, this person is kind of our POC, our initial point of contact, and it's basically turns into an evangelist. That's one thing.
You know, I take almost a similar approach. You know, people have this perception that the security team are like Men in Black. They show up in suits. They tell you what you did wrong, what you're going to do, and what you say. And we're not like that at all. And I found in the previous firms I've worked at, a lot of times we would help folks in different departments with, we talk to them about security, but they'd have these technical problems, and we help them fix their technical problem or business process problem. And just being able to help them solve problems, they start seeing a different characteristic about what the security team does. And then you can start talking to them about security. But I think it's really cool that we need to, as security teams, think outside the box. As, hey, you know, we're here to work with you, not for you, and vice versa.
It sounds like it could go both ways. So it could be being open and receptive to people coming in with what Michael was talking about, but also being kind of proactive, reaching out and looking for opportunities, almost to create, venues to have discussions, brown bag lunches or something.
Yeah. I mean, brown bag lunches work well. I think just making the rounds sometimes, like if you're physically located. I used to actually walk around to the different departments, just say, hey, how you doing? What's happening today?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of legwork that needs to be done for that. Very important. I mean, like we said, it's not just training; it's awareness. You have to you have to show presence if you want to impact culture.
It sounds really important. Like as you said, Michael, that's a really important point. So next question for Tony and Jen. So when we talk about cyber security centric culture and look at the overall company culture, sometimes we forget that there's a fear-based leadership in the company that produces disgruntled employees much faster. But we don't confront that head on. As this person says, it's the elephant in the room. How do we deal with that? How do we deal with fear in the workplace to do certain things in cybersecurity? Is there a link? Is there a way to mitigate some of those that culture in a company if it's present?
Well, I think fear-based leadership has been used, anytime you see it used to invoke powerful emotions in people. And, that's a way to, like a scare tactic, right? To get them to adhere to security, to take it seriously. But over time, we're not, we're in, an unknown distance march here with all of the activity that we're dealing with. So this is something we need to integrate into our business. It's not, we're not just dealing with one attack. We're not dealing with, a handful of incidents. This is an ongoing thing that has to become part of our business. And over time, fear-based leadership essentially demotivates people. And it has the opposite effect. And people just tune it out. They aren't motivated. And they block it because they don't want to deal with it. It's negative, and who wants that? And you you lose talent in that kind of a culture. It's a toxic culture. A good approach and a way to counter that, my belief is really to promote the idea of everyone being accountable for cybersecurity and everyone being a stakeholder and having an ownership role, and people who aren't technical and people who are, and empowering people and inspiring them. And by doing that, just through awareness, through education, through an understanding of, some of these concepts that may seem ambiguous to people, being able to distill them, break them down into ways that are meaningful. So I think the main thing is you have to make it meaningful to people, for them to care about it and to adopt it and understand it. And they have to connect to these concepts. And part of your role and your job, as a champion of this, is to be able to distill those concepts. How do you simplify some of this? And also, one of the very key pieces, I think, and I've said this in other areas, but building partnerships and relationships. It's so essential to the mission, whether those relationships are, the public-private partnerships, or whether those relationships are within the organization, with the users, with, all the stakeholders, and that connectedness, so that you're not someone who's just this sort of unknown person who might be monitoring everything someone's doing and creates a sense of paranoia.
So let me just add to that as well. So I think Jen just made some great points, but one thing we should try and make sure that leadership doesn't do is, if somebody does something wrong or if somebody doesn't understand something, there shouldn't be consequences. There should be further education. Yeah. This should not be, a calling out of an employee because they made a mistake. They are part of the solution, and actually you need to educate the employee to make sure that they maintain being part of the solution. And I think making cybersecurity awareness training, or the issue of cybersecurity in an organization, individual, well, it helps that as well. Make them understand that they're not just protecting the business, they're also protecting themselves, their family, and actually these principles are good across every sphere of every connected part of their life. So this is not about, you need to do this for the business. If you don't do this for the business, you're going to find the door and you're going to be out of the company, or there's going to be some repercussions of your bad behavior. That's not the way we educate children in schools, and that's not the way we should educate employees in the workplace about these issues.
Those are great points. So we have 1 minute left. So I love to do this. Everyone has 10 seconds to give their comments on this. But there's a really good third question. And business leaders understand the news, and they see that cyber attacks happen all the time. Why is it a challenge for them to buy into the culture? So let's start with Tony first, and then very quickly we'll go around. We got about 30 seconds left. So.
Well, it is it's one of, cybersecurity training is one of those things, or cybersecurity is one of those topics that people don't want to engage with until it's an incident, but we have to engage with it up front. I mean, if we're not proactive, then we become, unfortunately, super reactive.
Michael, what do you think?
Well, a lot of people view cybersecurity as a cost center rather than an organizational enabler, and the belief that the organization they're in is not important enough to end up in somebody's target pool.
Wow. And John, we'll probably wrap up with you here. 5 seconds.
I'd say goldfish mentality. They see things and they get that 30-second view of it, and with the tunnel vision, they tend not to think the bigger picture.
Great. Jen, sorry, we're going to have to kind of leave it at that point there, but it was a really great discussion, and look forward to the next panel that we're going to be listening to.
Thank you so much.
Hi, everyone. What an awesome discussion. Really love the live Q&A. It's really fantastic. So we've got another great session for you coming up right now. It's going to be all about educating the enterprise. And this session is going to be from Jeff Smith, who's the CEO at Arvatium. So really excited about this one. It's all about proactively changing the conversation around cybersecurity and getting it to being a driver. So looking forward to it.